All right. Thank you for joining 5 questions to ask every buyer. So this is going to be short and quick. 5 questions. It'll spur some thought. And if you have any questions, please use the chat. I've got webinar style here, so we'll definitely answer that. So, to make sure that the clients are in the right place, that's really what has spurred me to do this webinar, is that sometimes there's some questions that if the agent could filter and help ask the buyer just to make sure that they get in the right spot. Different lenders concentrate on different things. And definitely we want to make sure that we set the clients up for success, right? No one wants to start showing houses and then they're told like, guess what? You just fell in love with this house, but you can't do it. So I think you guys all know what I'm talking about. So with the client's best experience at heart, that's what we're going to talk about today. So Jennifer Hernandez, here's how to reach me. And by the way, Loan with Jen is all my handles on social media. So everything is Loan with Jen now. I've branded it all, even my YouTube channel. So if you haven't already subscribed to YouTube, please do. I've actually now got over 300 videos on there and growing. I post 2 videos a week that are all, so Loan with Jen, I've got 2 channels, Loan with Jen and then Loan with Jen Biz Tips. So you're welcome to like both of them. But the ones that can help buyers, when you've got buyers that just need to educate themselves, save them hours of research online to just get the real facts, no BS, and just have them go to Loan with Jen. So please go there, subscribe. And then my Biz Tips channel is where I post little nuggets of just quick coaching, like, hey, how to do better, have better follow-up. And I've got a lot of really good systems. So I'm happy to share that as well. Okay, let's get into it. Have you been pre-approved? I think everyone's really good at asking that. Like, hey, have you talked to a lender? So I really want to just go over briefly the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval. This is a big one because I'm starting to hear now more than ever people getting what they think is a pre-approval letter, and they've never had their credit checked by anybody. So there are some online culprits that are doing this where they just have a verbal conversation and they're not even pulling credit. So the buyer has come to me as a second opinion from the realtor. So good job, kudos on that. And it takes me about 10 minutes to educate them that they really don't have a pre-approval, and the detriment and the shock that they could be in when something might not be in the, in places they thought it was. So please, please, please ask them if there has been a person, not an automated machine, that has actually reviewed not only their credit, but their income and asset documents. If the answer to one or both of those is no, then they don't have a pre-approval. A pre-approval letter states very clearly that their income, asset, and credit information has been reviewed. So if someone hasn't done that, then they're lying on the letter. I don't know how to put it other than that. So not being truthful on those items, I just would question the ethics of any company that would give a pre-approval letter when those things haven't been checked out. So do ask those questions. Have you given documents? If the answer is no, then they really don't have a pre-approval. So send them my video that's pre-qual versus pre-approval. So I go over with them the risk that they're putting themselves in. Definitely sounds like you're perfectly qualified, but even the most qualified people don't want to be blindsided, last minute with some questions that could be easily handled. We don't want to put your earnest money at risk. So those are some of the conversations that I have with people, just saying, hey, you don't have a pre-approval. No one's checked your stuff. So how could we get you a letter saying that we have? So it's kind of interesting how that goes, but it seems to be kind of a trend. So that's why I thought it was really important to go over that. Pre-qualification is just credit only. There's no seller that I know of that's going to accept a pre-qual only, which is credit only letter saying we've reviewed nothing else but credit. That's what pre-qual is. The truth about credit, I spend a lot of time educating people on that as well. So any pulls of credit from a lender, from a mortgage lender, within a 30-day period only count as one pull. Yes, it's a hard pull. Again, you guessed it. I have a video about it, so you could send them to my channel. The truth is they can have as many inquiries from lending entities as they want. In a 30-day period, it only counts as one as far as point calculation. So their credit is not going to take a nosedive. The other really thing that's notable to know is that the lenders pull the same version of FICO. We all pull the same one. That's how we can sell the loans in between each other, because we know the integrity of our data is the same. So there's over 25 models of credit. And what that means is that, all these online people come to me all the time and say, I'm like, hey, what, do you know your score? Oh, yes. I have, whoever online. And their score is different than what we pull. Sometimes it's the same. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. So it's very important that they get their credit pulled by a mortgage lender, not just, oh yeah, my credit card gave me my free credit score and they said that it's 750. I mean, it could be 690 when we pull it. You never know. So that's really, really important to note. So I educate them about that as well, almost first 5 minutes of our conversation. And then be sure that one of the people that they're looking with is local. Do encourage them to get a second opinion, like, oh yeah, I got a pre-approval from whatever online company. Okay, but can you please get one that's local? As you guys know, because you're probably realtors if you're watching this, some sellers don't like, rightfully so, won't accept get an offer with a out-of-state or, non-local lender. So have them get a second opinion. Remember that about the truth about credit inquiries. If they've recently had it pulled, it's only going to count. It's the same pull anyway. Why not give them the very best position to be in the right spot to be able to negotiate and get an offer accepted by having a good, strong, local lender. Give them a second opinion as well. It can't hurt them. I mean, it's only going to benefit them. So question number 2. So you've asked them to make sure they've gotten a lender and that they've gotten a reputable lender so that we know that it's a true pre-approval. The second thing is you want to just lightly ask them, and you can ask these things without wanting to get into their deep, dark secrets of stuff. Okay. But you want to just know, hey, just to make sure that I'm referring you to the right lender, because I've got several. Do you have money for a down payment? Are you going to be relying on down payment assistance, for example? There are those programs available, but not every lender has down payment assistance. Not every lender is authorized to do that. So that's important to note. Like, do you have money saved for a down payment? Just some quick tips for you. Conventional loans now go to 647-200 in case you've not heard that yet. It just happened like a week ago. So that's super exciting news. So a first-time buyer can put 3% down at like a 660 sales price. That's and the loan be below 647. So that's amazing. A non-first-time buyer, they do have to put 5% down at a minimum, as long as they qualify. So that's just good to note. And on FHA, any buyer, you don't have to be first time. Anybody can do FHA, 3.5%. And that loan amount has raised as well to 426.80. So that's really super cool news as well. Now, just to give you just an approximation, a house of 250, which is below the median average for the city now, by the way, but a lot of people want to buy a $250,000 house. It's approximately, with minimum down payment and closing costs and all that, let's assume that the buyer's paying the title, $15,000, period. So, different price points obviously are different, but if they start to say that they only have 5,000, I just hear that a lot. Yeah, we've got 5,000. A lot of people, if they don't have the 15,000 or don't have a way to get it, then they probably need assistance. Well, we need to double check that they meet the assistance requirements. So say, yeah, I'm asking because I want to make sure I get you to the right lender. So do you mind if I ask you just a couple brief questions, and just ask them what their expectation is? And then you can make sure to refer it to a proper person on your list. Okay. Remember, if you have any questions, just to chat. So do you have any money saved? What is your expectation? Are you currently employed? So this is a big one. Very, 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 very big. Especially with relocating people, which that's going to be farther down on the slide. But are you currently employed? Are you an employee, or do you have your own business? So if they're an employee, meaning they're employed by somebody else, they've got to have a 2-year history, not with the same company, but they've got to have, history. If they move around a lot and they've had a lot of different jobs in the last couple of years, and I know that with COVID, a lot of people have, it's a little dicey. It's not a slam dunk. So they need to get to a lender super quick. Now, if someone has gone part-time, they used to be full-time and now they've gone part-time, the 2-year history starts all over again. So the reason I'm not trying to train y'all to be lenders, please don't misunderstand me, but I'm giving you some language to start hearing some key words so that you can A, refer them to the right lender if necessary, or B, know that you definitely should not show this person a house until they've talked to a lender, because time is valuable, time is money, and we don't want to set people up for disappointment. So just a couple of terms for y'all to know, like, okay, is this an A, B, or C, prospect? Is this someone that can buy in the next 3 months, or are they 12 months out? So just kind of helping y'all dissect that a little bit more. Now, if they own their own business or they've recently gone 1099, we have a lot of people that are more coming to us like, oh yeah, I got laid off in COVID and now I'm just doing my own thing. Okay, they need a 2-year history with 2 years tax returns filed. So that's really super important. And just FYI, we take the taxable income, not the gross. So some of this is just training you what to listen for. You don't necessarily have to ask them, oh, what's your taxable income? I mean, you don't have to get that, delicate with them. That's our job. But it's just to make sure what this person's situation is. So you can, again, get them to the right place. Now, another one that comes up a lot, because a lot of people are moving here from out of the country. It's a great place to live, the US of A. So, citizen resident work visa, that's great. And again, you're asking them this so that you can be sure to get them to the right kind of lender. That's what I do. Citizen, just the regular Fannie, Freddie, FHA loans. You've got to be one of those top citizen resident work visa, period. End of story. Now, if they have a tax identification number, which is a TIN number, that's a very special lender. They're not authorized to work in the US, even though some of them might be. They might even have tax returns. The government's glad to take their money, but they can't get the kind of loans that are the mainstream, the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac type stuff. So if you do deal with people that might be in this status quite a bit, make sure you ask them, because you don't want to refer them to the right place. I'm trying to minimize the number of times that people hear no, just because you want to have people encouraged and excited about the process. So get them to the right place. So if they're a TIN number, they wouldn't come to someone like me. I'm going to tell them, no, I cannot help you. So it'll save you some time and effort if you can get them to the right place. So if you deal with a lot of people that might be TIN number, you've got to have on your list of trusted lenders someone who deals with those types of clients. And that usually is 20% down, just to let you know what to expect. Now, foreigners, again, a lot of foreign people are coming here to buy, a place, either for family or to reside part of the time or whatever the reason. If they live and work in another country, they're a true foreign national. Special lenders, again, that's not mainstream. they probably should expect 20% down. So if they're expecting a low down payment and they're in the 10 number or foreign criteria, not a good prospect to buy right now. So just again, the agents filtering up front can really help mold in conversation to people and get them in the right place, or know that they need to wait. That like, nope, this is what you got to have. Okay. And again, don't expect y'all to be lenders, but I think it's going to help, we rise together and we fall together. So it's all about information. Okay. So number 5, my 5th biggest thing that we run across, a lot of people relocating, a lot. So it's probably happening to a lot of you realtors a lot more. Do they have a job here? There are a lot of people that think that they can just leave the job where they are, come here and buy a house with no job in sight, just assuming that they're going to get one based on their prior, let's say if they're coming from California. We have a lot of California West Coast people. Like, oh yeah, I worked here. I made this amount per hour or whatever. I'm leaving and I'm just going to come to Houston and just Airbnb it, find a house, and y'all are going to use my work salary from the place I don't work anymore. It does not work that way. It is impossible. They've got to have something lined up here. If it's salary, if they're a salary type employee, we can usually use an offer letter that's got a start date, soon before the first payment. If they're an hourly type employee and they're per hour, we've got to see their paychecks. If they're not on a guaranteed salary, but they're just per hour, we've got to make sure the pay stub says 40 hours. Okay. So they usually need a couple of paychecks, a month worth of paychecks. If they're part-time, I don't know if you remember a couple slides back, let's say they just, I'm going to work here part-time, 2-year history. We've got to make sure, how many hours are they working? Are they working 20? Are they working 10? Are they, anytime someone goes from full-time to part-time or is part-time, they've got to have a 2-year history. Okay. That's very, very important. If they're using the job in their current state, then the purchase here is not a primary residence. It's a second home or an investment, depending. Second home really means kind of a vacation type home. So usually it's probably going to be an investment. Higher down payments and higher rates apply. Just the way it is. I mean, it's that you can't buy a primary residence in a place that you live thousands of miles away from where you work. It just doesn't make sense. So lenders are very, very cautious, very sore subject with lenders, because there are a lot of people that are not being truthful currently. Just that's the number one reason for fraud in the mortgage industry right now, is misstating the use of the property. So the lenders will ask, a good lender will ask a lot of questions. I know I don't want to be associated with anything that's not really the way that it's going to be. And I don't think the realtors do either, because when one goes down, everyone gets pulled down with it. Trust me. So I definitely ask a lot of questions. Unfortunately, there might be some filters not as strong out there and they might seep through the cracks. But if you know that some of this is going on, and anyone is misstating how they're using a property, you need to probably think twice and just not participate, because that is going on a lot. We've gotten a lot of calls that we've turned away that are that. So I just encourage you to ask those questions, like, hey, what's the use of this property? So the definition again, primary residence is where you're going to be working. Like, you have to work in the same city as that's your primary. A secondary residence is a vacation home. It's a vacation type spot usually, or if you have family here and you're coming back and forth, that's a second home. Otherwise, it's an investment. There's only 3 options for a lender of the use of the property. So this is really, really, really important on the relocating and what's the use of the property, or even in town, people that live here automatically. So that's just a really really big deal. So these are my 5 main questions to just filter and help your clients more to get in the right spot. So I'm going to review them again really quickly. Have you been approved? Have you talked to a lender? And what's the quality of that pre-approval? Like, oh, okay, great. Did somebody actually look at your documents? Did you upload them to a portal or something? Did anybody talk to you about the documents? If the answer to that is no, that is a major red flag. Please encourage them to get a second opinion. Truth about credit, any inquiries from a lender in 30 days just count as one. So remember about that. Remember to ask them, hey, what's your expectation for down payment? How much do you have to put in something? Or are you going to be looking for assistance, or do you have the money saved up? That's a good question. Are you currently employed? And that really especially goes hand in hand with that relo slide that we had. But are you currently employed? Are you a business owner, or are you an employee? Okay. Residency status. If you're working with someone that is from another country, it's very important to ask them just, hey, just to make sure I get you to the right lender that's got a program for you. What are you on a permit? Are you a citizen or resident? So I can get you in the right place. And then lastly, relocating. Do they have a job lined up here? So if you would like this, actually, I've got the email of everyone that's attended, so I'll send it to you. But if you're watching this later, we're going to post this later on YouTube. You can just contact me and I'll be glad to get you this copy of the PowerPoint. So I'm finished with everything. If you've got some questions, I'd love to hear them. Just put them in the chat. Legacy Mutual Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity lender. The opinions expressed here do not reflect those of Legacy Mutual Mortgage.